Right now, new harrowing images from the rescue and recovery efforts in India, where the death toll from a train crash is expected to rise. But first, one Madison man is marking National Gun Violence Awareness Month by turning the weapons into tools for growth. And with the stroke of a pen, President Biden lifts the debt ceiling just in the nick of time, keeping the nation away from default. That's all coming up at 10.
It's a hurt, not only for family and friends, but our entire communities, our entire nation. We're all touched and affected by gun violence to one degree or another.
The call for efforts to reduce gun use and violence is picking up. With June marked as National Gun Violence Awareness Month, many in our community and across the nation are coming together to speak on gun violence and talk about prevention. For many, the effort to end gun violence starts at the legislative level, but one Madison man is taking more of a grassroots approach, forging a new path by getting guns off the street and into the garden. Brandon Ross has the story.
We're all touched and affected by gun violence to one degree or another.
After years of performing funeral services for those lost to gun violence, retired Pastor Jeff Wild knew he wanted to make a change.
It's a hurt, not only for family and friends, but our entire communities, our entire nation.
So when he found an organization that turns surrendered firearms into gardening tools, it just felt right.
It's grounded in scripture, swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks.
For the last 2 years, he's been holding surrender events like this one, taking people's unwanted guns and giving them a new life.
I turn them into either a garden trowel or what's called a mattock. I think of it as a small pickaxe.
Here's how it works. Community members bring in guns that, for whatever reason, they no longer want or need.
He said, I'm a hunter, I own guns, but when my brother died, I inherited these AR-15s.
Volunteers then take the weapons, no questions asked, and destroy them. The person who gave up the gun gets a gift card, and Wild takes the pieces home to work his magic.
There you have it.
Once the gardening tools are forged,
they are sold, and for the income that's received on that, that money goes to purchase gift cards for the next upcoming safe surrender event.
Wild says he's happy to give people a safe and peaceful way to get rid of their unwanted weapons.
They don't have to worry about someone being harmed in the home or having them stolen or selling them to someone where you don't really know what will happen from there.
For News 3 Now, I'm Brayden Ross.
And at today's event, Wild and his team collected and destroyed 20 guns. If you missed it, they're holding another safe surrender next Saturday from 9 to noon at Midvale Community Lutheran Church. All right, let's get a look at your first warm forecast with meteorologist Gary Canalti out on the weather patio, and pretty hot it looks like.
Yeah, it was. Most of southern Wisconsin had temperatures in the 90s, including Madison. And while tomorrow probably won't be as hot, it'll still be pretty warm. As we take a look at the time lapse from the WIC TV Skycam, we had sunshine through the morning, and then as we headed into the afternoon, we saw some cumulus clouds pop up again, but those dissipated as we headed towards sunset, and skies are generally clear now across southern Wisconsin. Showers and thunderstorms up in northeastern Wisconsin as they headed southwestward just kind of fell apart. Again, once the sun goes down, we just see those showers and storms fall apart. 91, the high temperature in Madison, 93 in Janesville. Most areas away from Lake Michigan were in the upper 80s to lower 90s. Milwaukee, a little cooler at 83, but right now temperatures are still well into the 70s. Madison at 73, 74 degrees in Monroe, and 74 in Viroqua here in Dane County. Temperatures mainly in the middle 70s. 76 degrees in Edgerton, 74 degrees in Stoughton, and 74 in McFarland. Look for skies to be partly cloudy overnight. It'll be mild with a low of 60. Later on, I'll take a look at a forecast that includes a little bit of rain, but not very much, and we'll see how much more we can expect.
Thanks, Gary. Well, a 19-year-old Verona man has been sentenced to 2.5 years in prison after pleading guilty in February to a charge of being a felon in possession of a firearm. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Wisconsin, Lazarick Austin will also spend 3 years on supervised release. Austin had been convicted of felony car theft in Dane County in May of last year, but failed to appear in court for sentencing in July, leading to a warrant being issued for his arrest. A month later, detectives found Austin at an apartment in Middleton and arrested him. Inside, they found a handgun with Austin's DNA on it. An investigation turned up numerous photos of Austin holding multiple guns, including in vehicles in Madison and Chicago. Austin allegedly told detectives he posed in the photos to look tough. And next tonight, the images behind me was the moment where a potentially catastrophic economic crisis was officially averted. After speaking to the nation Friday, President Biden signed the bipartisan deal brokered with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to raise the nation's debt ceiling and avoid default. The deal averts what economists say would have surely been an economic collapse just 2 days before that June 5th deadline and would have prompted the nation's first ever default.
That's why I'm speaking to you tonight. To report on the crisis averted, no one got everything they wanted, but the American people got what they needed.
The legislation will cap non-defense spending and expands work requirements for some food stamp recipients. And while the debt ceiling deal may have averted a crisis, some analysts say our economy remains overheated, with the latest job report showing the U.S. adding 339,000 jobs last month, nearly double of what was expected. Investigators in Florida say they've identified 3 suspects in a mass shooting at Hollywood Beach on Memorial Day. Investigators have now identified 3 people they say fired the shots that wounded 9 people on the boardwalk. One of the men, Jordan Burton, is in custody. Police are still looking for the other 2, Lionel Jean Charles Jr. and Ariel Cardon Paul. Authorities say they recovered 5 handguns, 2 of which were stolen. Police previously arrested 2 people on charges in connection with the shooting, but authorities say these suspects were not the ones who fired the shots into the crowd. 2 of the wounded remain in the hospital and are listed in stable condition. And rescuers in India are scrambling to find survivors following the train crash that has left hundreds of people dead. At least 288 people were killed and more than 1,000 were injured after 2 passenger planes and a freight train collided in the eastern state of Odisha on Friday. Unfortunately, the death toll is expected to increase. An official with the National Disaster Response Force called the accident one of the most serious accidents in the country this century. The cause of the crash is unknown, but the railway minister says a high-level inquiry has been ordered. More local news, dozens of vintage rides were back on State Street for the first time since 2019. The Cars on State Classic Cars Show returned after it had been put on pause during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now guests could be back hearing from the vehicle's owners about what makes their machines so special, like British car enthusiast Dave Griffith, who brought his Triumph 1955 TR2.
Well, this is a great show to be in because there are probably 60,000 people that wander up and down the street, and you get, my dad had one of those, my uncle had one of those, I had one of those in college. All these comments brings back lots of memories.
Authorities' other rides out on display range from the DeLorean straight out of Back to the Future to sought-after American muscle cars.